Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Fondjoy Justice League Cyborg. I want to give a huge thanks to a long-term subscriber for sending me a bunch of Fondjoy figures to review. It is much appreciated. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, DC, Cyborg, Ray Fisher from the DC Cinematic Universe, officially licensed DC product, 1/9 scale model Cyborg by Fondjoy. Here's the front of the box. We have Cyborg posed up, his hand kind of wrapping around to the side. Cyborg. Other side also says Cyborg. At the back, here's the figure and all of his accessories. And there's a barcode if that helps. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. We have a large display stand, 2 alternate hands, totaling 4 interchangeable hands, an alternate blaster for one of his hands, and then 2 different heads. Before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Cyborg, played by Ray Fisher in the DC Cinematic Universe. He made his only appearance in Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is an 8-inch scale, 1/9 scale figure, although honestly they're more like 7 inches tall. So let's take a closer look. So, starting with his face, I think it looks good, not great, as far as Ray Fisher goes. You can sort of see the likeness, but it's kind of soft at the same time. Paint job maybe could be a little bit better, a little more realistic. Row up parts look pretty good. It's done in sort of a shiny metallic paint. He's got that red thing in his chest, and one day I would love a figure that actually glowed over there. That'd be pretty cool. It looks like double jointed elbows. Same with knees. It looks good. The shiny paint, I don't know, just something seems a little bit off on it. My real question is this one better than the McFarlane version? We'll compare them in a little bit. But so far it's looking pretty good. Sculpt is nice, intricate in some parts, kind of bland in other parts. Paint job definitely has a metallic look to it. A lot of the sculpting is very intricate. I mean, look at that work in his back and his butt. So far so good. Looking forward to comparing it with other Cyborg figures as well. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. It looks good, but it looks a little bit soft. And at the very tip of the eyebrow, kind of between the 2 eyebrows, looks like maybe it should be painted a little bit more. There's the sculpt part that's a little blank, and almost looks like he has a little bit of a growth there. I can definitely see Ray Fisher, but is it because the Ray Fisher part looks good, or because it's in that Cyborg face? Say a little bit of both. And then, here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with the boring stuff, his display stand. It comes in 2 separate pieces. When put together, it's going to look like this. We have the large circular base here, the Cyborg, and then it has this post that comes out, it has rotation at the bottom of the post, hinged at the bottom, hinge in the middle, hinge at the top, and rotation, as well as this clamp to hold your figure in place. Now let's look at his hands. He has a total of 4 regular hands, 2 left hands, 2 right hands, and he has an additional laser attachment that can replace his hands. Here's Cyborg with his first pair of hands. This is a pair of grippy hands. And here's his second set of hands. This is a pair of flat, outstretched hands. And then here he is with the alternate cannon arm attached. I assumed it just pegged in at the wrist, but you actually remove the entire sort of arm from here down. As you can see, here's that sort of piece of that arm. And then you have the cannon here as a sort of little prongs that stick out at the end. And it has a little bit of rotation because of the way it's pegged in there. And if you wanted to, it does work on either the left or the right arm. Now let's look at his heads. He has 2 of them. One with about 3/4 of his face showing, and then one with the armored sort of helmet look. Here's a look at his first face. This is his normal face, the one he uses most of the time, and you can see a lot of the Ray Fisher or Vic Stone face. And here's his alternate head. This one has the sort of helmet look to it. And I like the sculpt. I like the paint job. It's shiny. It's sort of smooth, but not smooth. I think they really captured the way it looked in the film. Now that I've taken a pretty good look at the figure and its accessories, let's check out his height. from bottom to the top of his head, standing about 7.5 inches tall, 7.5 inches, which can translate to around 19 centimeters. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, you can rotate side to side. He can look up a little bit, down quite a bit more. Can tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes out about 90 degrees. The shoulder pads here are pegged on. They can kind of move out of the way. Kind of move out of the way that way. Go up and down a little bit. Kind of rotate. I pop one off on accident. They go right back on, no problem. So shoulders 90 degrees. Up, down, around. You can hear a little squeaking in there. Looks like no bicep cut. There it is. Okay, it's just a little stuck. Double jointed elbow. And then his wrist can rotate, and it's hinged. The wrist totally reminds me of the T800 Terminator model. Torso, he's got a ball joint. Rotate around. Forward and back. Another one is waist. Rotate around. Forward and back. Between the two, pretty good range of motion. I'd say you're looking at more out of the torso than the waist on this guy. Legs, they don't go out very far. You kind of push them down. Drop down hips, which look like this. You can't pop them back up. If you want to go out like this, no chance. Push them down a little bit, and they can go out a lot more. This top part here sort of obstructs it. Drop down hits help. Looks bad. Put them back. Looks just fine. Rotation, it's there. They go forward all the way. Back. Quite a bit as well. Double jointed knees. And his ankle. Forward and back the tiniest bit. Tilt rock, also the tiniest bit. Rotation. Get a little bit in the knee area, not much. And toe articulation. Here's a look at Cyborg in a military installation like the Pentagon. And here's a closer look at the Cyborg. It's a pretty good figure. Now let's check them out next to some of their action figures, starting off with some of their Cyborg figures. So the absolute first thing I wanted to do was compare this Fondjoy Cyborg with the McFarlane DC Multiverse version. And I have some really fond memories of the McFarlane one. I remember really liking the sculpt, the paint job, the likeness, but it's been a really long time since I looked this figure over. Now, first thing, Fondjoy is just a tiny, tiny bit bigger, maybe 0.2 inches, something like that. But overall, he looks a little bit bulkier, which I think is a good thing. In the movie, he had kind of a larger presence to him. I felt like he was bulkier than an average human. And I think the Fondjoy one is probably more accurate scale-wise with the rest of the McFarlane Justice League. And the paint job. He has a darker, sort of silver on the McFarlane one, and then a lighter, more metallic, shinier silver on this one. And looking next to each other, I think I prefer the Fondjoy paint job. It looks more metallic. So let's take a closer look. One of the important things, the head. Honestly, McFarlane's looks pretty good. Fondjoy's not look bad, but I think McFarlane's might be a little bit better. They both look like Ray Fisher. This one just looks, I don't know, a little more serious. The whole figure seems a little darker in tone, a little more quote-unquote serious. This one just looks, I don't know, the face looks a little more toony. The red, a little bit more vibrant on him. It'd be nice if some figure had a glowing thing in the chest. I think I saw Ink Drop Customs do that a long time ago. Now the sculpt. So the little pieces here. I feel like it's a little more intricate on Fondjoy. But there are some parts, like the legs for example, and now I see the little more subtle details where it's not just one big smooth thing. Kind of appreciate it a little bit more as I dig in deeper to the guy. Not a fan of dropped on hips, but really easy to correct that. They both have sort of a Terminator vibe to them. I always felt that in the film, and it was funny because his dad was Miles Dyson. I'm going to have to give it up for Fondjoy, I think. I mean, there are things I like better on the McFarlane one. There are things I like better on the Fondjoy one, but as a whole, I think I would rather put this guy with my DC Cinematic Universe McFarlane Justice League than this guy, and that's kind of interesting. I like his size and his paint job. And McFarlane did make two different versions for the movie, one with the mask on and one with the helmet look. And both Mattel and McFarlane shamelessly made you buy two different versions of the figures to have two different looks. Fondjoy included both heads with one release. Here's this Fondjoy Cyborg, next to all the McFarlane DC Multiverse Cyborg figures. They've made 5 so far. And here he is, with a DC Direct New 52 Cyborg figure. Then, next to my Mattel Cyborg figures. Here are all the Cyborg figures in my collection, by Mattel, McFarlane, DC Direct, and Fondjoy. Here's Cyborg, next to Murder Machine. Murder Machine is an evil Batman Cyborg hybrid from the Dark Multiverse. And here he is, next to Grid. Grid is an evil version of Cyborg from another multiverse, and is part of the crime syndicate. Now let's check him out with some other Fondjoy figures. Now Fondjoy has made quite a bit of figures, and I didn't even know they existed until the Ben Affleck Batman. It seems like they kind of redid their whole action figure strategy with Ben Affleck, made really top quality stuff, and are taken a lot more seriously now. But come to find out, they had a bunch of older figures as well. Cyborg seemed to be sort of the last of those older figures. He was, when they were starting to make improvements, heading the right direction. But I believe now that they've done the Ben Affleck and those type of figures, they're going to be redoing Superman and some other figures with their more modern, more accurate, better look. Here's Cyborg next to a couple of other older Henry Cavill Superman figures, both in the red and blue and black suits. Honestly, these are not that good of figures. I mean, they're not horrible, but the likeness is not good. I don't like the way the cape attaches. I don't like the shoulders and elbows. It just looks a little off. Like I said, I believe they're revisiting this Superman, and I imagine they will kill it with the big figures nowadays. And here he is, next to Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn. They're both kind of on the big side of things. Their faces look okay, but not great. And there are definitely flaws in these figures, but they don't look nearly as bad as I had heard about or read. So definitely happy to add them all to the collection. Although, I feel like they're way too big next to Cyborg. Definitely Harley Quinn. Next, with Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, Jason Momoa Aquaman, and Mera. Aquaman's big and bulky and looks like he fits in really nice scale-wise with Cyborg. The figure's pretty good. Head's maybe, I don't know, a little bit too sort of wide or fat. And Mera, actually all things think it's a very good figure. And they both fit in pretty good with the McFarlane DC collection. And then in fairly recent history, Fondjoy completely stepped up their game and releases Ben Affleck Batman. He put them on the map, got the attention of collectors, and they were taken seriously. It's almost like there's 3 different kind of Fondjoy figures. The older ones, like Superman and Harley Quinn, that are pretty awful. And then some better ones like Aquaman, Cyborg, Mera. Wonder Woman kind of seems like she falls between category 1 and 2. And now it's like they improved for a 3rd time, and they're making really, really nice figures. If they go back and redo some of the older figures in this style with this quality, it'll be a home run. And they've now done 3 different Batfleck figures. Armor Batfleck, Batman vs Superman Batfleck, and Justice League Batfleck. There are 2 more that are on the verge of coming out right now, and that's Nightmare and Justice League Tactical Suit versions. They also did a Robert Pattinson Batman from The Batman fairly recently. Here are all the Fondjoy figures that I have in my collection. I'm trying to go back and get some of the older ones. I'm not even 100% sure what all is out there. Drop me a line in the comments below. What all am I missing? I understand there's some older Dark Knight Trilogy stuff that are pretty bad, but I would like to get the collection complete and up to date. Here's the Fondjoy Cyborg. Next to McFarlane is Justice League from Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think he fits in pretty good scale-wise. A little bigger than Batman. Not way smaller than Aquaman. Scaling's not quite consistent. Batman should be a little bit bigger. And then it'd be a nice collection. Now let's check him out. Next is some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a Fondjoy figure, they're advertised as 8-inch scale, but I'd say they're closer to 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work way smaller. But first, I wanted to see how he fits in with other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, and I imagine that's what most other people are curious about as well. Here he is, with 4 different McFarlane DC Multiverse figures, fairly recent releases of different shapes and sizes. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures and Diamond Select toys. Here's Cyborg, next to a light bulb. And here he is, with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then, with both some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures. And now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, with some SH Figure Arts and Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's a pretty nice Cyborg figure. Here be my complaints. Not a lot of accessories, 2 alternate hands and the alternate gun. Would have been nice if he had some fisted hands, maybe a mother box, maybe the big cannon for the nightmare scene, maybe a sort of cloth hoodie type thing, but I'm asking for a little bit much. Figure itself looks pretty good. Now something about the frame seems a little bit off, like the shoulders and his hips compared to the torso seem a little bit wide. The paint job, I like it. The sculpt I like as well. Likeness, a little bit soft. I'm really having a hard time deciding if I like the Fondjoy or the McFarlane better. I'm leaning a little bit more toward the Fondjoy right now because he's a little bit bigger and bulkier. The paint job's a little bit more metallic looking. But first impressions, sometimes you really like something when you first get it, and then over time you kind of get used to it. But so far the Fondjoy is winning by just a hair over the McFarlane. McFarlane has better legs. Fondjoy has better paint, larger sculpt. McFarlane, I think, maybe has a little bit better proportions in the sort of hip and shoulder area. If I were to rate this figure, I think I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Teeter a 7.5. Probably should give him a 7.5. I do like the figure a lot. I'm enjoying him. So this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.